Welcome to the Even Better podcast, where your host, Sinikka Waugh of Your Clear Next Step, brings you exciting content about making communities better by helping people get even better at work.
Hi, it's Haley from Your Clear Next Step. Did you know our mission is to help people have better workdays so that together they can co-create better communities? We do this by helping people make authentic human connections, deliver real business value, and treat change as a process, not an event. We have several upcoming classes that you won't want to miss. Sign up today at yourclearnextstep.com/events.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Even Better podcast. My name is Sinikka Waugh, and I'm your host, and I'm so glad that you joined us today. And I am super excited to welcome our guest, my friend, Kristy Evans. Kristy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thanks for having me on, Sinikka.
This is such a joy. So for those of you who don't know Kristy, Kristy is someone to know and someone to watch and someone to pay attention to because she is moving and shaking on the art scene, and she is doing wonderful things right here in our community in Indianola and around the greater Des Moines area. She is making art accessible. She is bringing people to art and bringing art to people in just really neat ways in the community. And I'll let you let her tell you her story. But the pieces that I know, so of the things that I know about Kristy, I know that she was an educator, that she spent time in the classroom, so she's got a heart for teaching. And I think this is one of the reasons that I was immediately drawn to Kristy. And now she does cool stuff with art and helps elevate other artists as well as in the art that she creates. It is beautiful and it speaks to lots of people, and it's just really, really cool. And in the art that she does and the work that she does in the space of art, she is really, really careful to elevate other artists as well as just make art available to people. And I just think that's so cool. So we're here talking to Kristy. I'm gonna let Kristy tell you her story. But as we talk about why, what we're talking about today, it's not just about art. Today we're gonna talk about career transitions and journeys and self-awareness and letting go and what it's like to be a control freak sometimes and what it's like to let go when we're control freaks. So we got all kinds of topics that we're going to hit today, and we'll find a theme that goes throughout. But let me have Kristy tell a little bit of her story. Welcome, Kristy.
Well, thanks, Sinikka. You kind of make me laugh and all that. Oh my. I have been an educator and a little bit of a control freak. And if I tell my story, I want to lead by saying that my story has a happy ending. And that's part of why it's fun to tell my story. But while I was going through it, it wasn't so happy. I was a teacher. I taught high school English and I coached swimming for a long time. And I started having little health hiccups. And we never quite could put our finger on what those were. And as they kept going and things got worse, it was tough and it was lengthy and it was going on year after year. And when you talk about letting go, I guess that's one of the first places that really resonates with me, because when you think back on your life, I mean, I think that it's such a given for us for so long that we trust that our bodies will just be there for us. And we can just do what we put our minds to, because our body is just a given. It will just do what we ask of it. And so when my body kind of stopped delivering for me, and I couldn't just kind of pull myself up by the bootstraps and say, by gosh, you're just going to do this. You just mind over matter. You got to just do it. That felt like a betrayal by my body, and I had to just really surrender into that, and that was tough. And I'll kind of skip forward and say, after a number of years, that tough increased in intensity to the point where I had to step away from my career. That was a career ender for me. The doctors hadn't been able to figure out what was wrong. I was just under the umbrella called chronic pain. And so almost 20 years into a teaching career, I hobble home to sit in a chair. So like I said, happy ending coming, but we're not there right now. And when I came home, I was 49 years old, and I knew I'm going to need something to do. My brain cannot sit here in this chair. I've got to have something. And I've always loved art, but I had no training in it. I just had dabbled and tried to teach myself a little bit. So I talked to my husband about it, and Al was in full support of let's jump in for an online workshop. You can sit in your chair with your laptop, you can do some online lessons. I would go up to the table, try to paint for 15 minutes, go back to my chair. So I developed this kind of zigzag where I'd get out of my chair for a little bit, do some art, go back to my chair. And so that kind of became my new pattern, was this zigzag kind of existence.
Mhm.
I really had to do a lot of talking to myself about making the best of what I still could do. Because as I tell my story, even though I might be telling it slowly, I'm kind of a slow talker. The days feel like weeks, feel like months, and it actually is taking a couple years. When we finally got to the point that we figured out what was wrong and I could have a surgical intervention, to say that I was just overwhelmed by gratitude.
Mm.
And so I had my first brain surgery to correct hydrocephalus. And all of a sudden, the extra fluid in my brain was drained, and I had my balance back, and I could walk, and I could do all these things, and it was great until it wasn't. And the cyst in my midbrain kept growing and impinging on an optic nerve. So then my sight became an issue.
Mm.
And at this point, I'm several years into the art thing. And so, of course, for somebody that loves art, having your vision
Wow, yeah.
impacted becomes a scary thing. Or starting to wonder, just how much vision am I going to lose here, folks? And I've got doctors saying this is going to be your new normal. You've got to surrender to this. You've got to just learn to work around it. So, again, adjustments, surrender, losing control, making the best of it. And I was kind of back in that chair
Yeah.
after being out of it for 18 months. The second time in the chair was not happy because I had gotten out for a while. But again, fast forward, I have the second surgery, and this time they drained the cyst. And this was January of 2024, and now I have the full recovery.
Mm.
And I have now been monitored, and my little hanging cyst is still in there, all shriveled and not causing any problems. And it's getting smaller and smaller. So we're good. And I've been able to kind of come back into my own competencies.
Mm.
Now, I didn't go back to the classroom because I really fell in love with art and making art and the idea of kind of intersecting with creative living.
Mm.
But I have been able to take, I try to repurpose some of my skills from life part one and see how it can help me with life part two.
Yeah. So as you've made this journey, and you're right, there it starts hard and it starts sad, and it's letting go of things that you had done, as you said, in life part one, but a- and and all of that being true, it also has a happy moment where we're at the happy part now. We're at a part where you have created this new space. You've leaned into learning a new skill. You've leaned into creating a new entrepreneurial space for yourself. Now you've leaned into a totally new way of doing life for yourself,
Mhm.
and you love it enough not to go at the moment, not to go back into the classroom, but to lean into this, which is, I think, really, really cool. Yeah.
Now,
So-
the funny thing is, To me, when I look back,
Mhm.
I think it's like anyone who works a career for
Mhm.
20 years. There are things that you don't love about your job that aren't your favorites, right? But there are also things that you get good at and
Mm.
you develop a reputation for, and you do feel pride in what you're able to do.
Mhm.
And I had no intention of leaving my career before I finished to retirement.
Mm.
I had none. In fact, I had been teaching juniors and seniors exclusively for so many years.
Mhm.
And the last year I was at Carlisle, because I was at Carlisle for a long time, I had switched to teaching half of my class load with freshmen, and I was kind of excited for that change. I just, it's a new age group. It's the only high school age group I haven't taught. And I really, in my mind, thought this is going to be a new challenge, and this will probably take me to the end of my career trying to figure out these squirrels. Like these guys have some energy. This is a whole new challenge.
Absolutely.
And that was the last semester I was there.
Mm.
So I did not master that challenge. But I'm enjoying what I'm doing now so much
Mm.
that when I think about that I could have missed all of this
Mhm.
if my little pea-size midbrain cyst hadn't booted my behind out the door, then that almost becomes a sad story.
Right?
Right.
Yep.
And and it's really funny because while I was sitting in that chair, my husband would tell you there were plenty of days where I was struggling to find a silver lining for sure.
I imagine.
One of the doctors that I saw asked me to go and see a therapist specifically to talk about living with chronic pain,
Mm.
that topic. And so I did. And she really helped me with something that I think probably could have helped me my whole life. I think there have been many times in my life where, you can be an either or thinker, is what she called it. Either you're going to do this the way you imagine you're going to do it, or you're not going to do it at all. Either black or white, no gray, either one, or that's it, either or. And when I couldn't do so many things that I wanted to be able to do, either or thinking would just shut down
Mm.
any forward movement because I couldn't do it. So the or was, you're not doing it.
Mm.
And she introduced this idea of which part of the thing you want to do could you still do
Yeah. There it
if you did
is.
it a different way?
There it is.
And it just opened up. These workarounds just became what I lived on.
Yeah.
That okay, I can't do this. I can't do it the way I used to do it. So what's my workaround? And I think, "Oh my gosh, how could that have helped me for how many years prior, right?"
Right? So what can we do? We can't do it's not either or. It's which part of this could we do? Which part of this can we do? Yeah.
Yeah. So I do feel like I had so many moments where I learned important things that I didn't always enjoy how and why I learned them,
That's fair.
but I'm happy to take the lessons forward.
That's beautifully put. So I want to do a quick disclaimer and clarify something that I said a minute ago, lest it be misunderstood. I am a huge advocate for education, a tremendous advocate for public education, and the world loved the time that you were in the classroom. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you were an amazing teacher, and we loved having you as the world at large loved having you in the classroom, and you were a great contributor there. And at the same time, the lessons that you've learned since then and the way that you've been able to contribute since then are also you're making the world a great place in this new space. And so what I don't want to the way I want to move this conversation forward, it's not about education, it's not about whether or not you're a teacher, it's about anyone who's looking at a transition in their career through no fault of their own. Because plenty of the people listening to this podcast right now are facing job transitions. There are people who are experiencing job transitions that are not their idea. We did
Mhm.
not ask for this layoff. We did not ask for this downsizing. We did not ask for this. My spouse moved us across the wherever, and now we've got to go find a new job. We did not ask for this medical complication. We did not ask for this, whatever it is. It's through no fault of our own or no choosing of our own, or maybe it even was our choosing, and we're about to make this big giant leap. And the thing that we had was wonderful. And there is no discrediting the thing that we had.
Mhm.
And, and the future can also hold greatness.
Mhm.
Both can be true. Whatever career you just held can be great, and the next can also be great.
Yes, I absolutely think that's true. And what I want to say when you mention that there could be people listening that are going through that kind of forced transition, and maybe they've chosen it, which I think perhaps takes some of the sting out of the transition. Although I will still say that I think transitions are hard and uncertainty is hard.
For sure.
And at first, I think new can feel exciting and exhilarating and like an adventure. But I would just say that I think there are a lot of quiet moments where you're sitting alone with something, or I was at least, that even with incredible support, and I count myself incredibly lucky because I did have family and friends supporting me,
Mm.
and I had a husband who on the day to day, I couldn't have asked for better support and better understanding. And I know that that was an incredible piece of my picture that helped me on a day-to-day basis. And I still think that in those moments when you are alone with uncertainty, those can be lonely moments
Mm.
because we can have this idea that we're supposed to smack a happy face on everything,
Oh, yeah.
even when it doesn't feel happy.
Yep.
And I didn't do that. I did let myself have days that were low or days that were angry, days that were regretting. The thing that helped me, two things really. One is that I was a writing teacher and journaling helped me a lot. I always think that getting things moved into words, even if you never show anyone those words, can be a huge help. And then for me, the creative process, making the art really, really helped because it quiets the brain. I mean, they have really done studies about how in the moment when you're creating, it shifts what's happening in the brain. And you do quiet things. And so as hard as it is, on hard days, doing something as simple as coloring or doodling can actually help manage some of that kind of day.
Hmm.
In my case, I was painting and I love collage and I always call it my kindergarten self because it's ripping and gluing and I just make a huge mess. So I think, letting that inner child come out is also very therapeutic.
Mm.
And I don't worry. I really try to just play and not worry about, is this going to be good enough? Is this going to be something I sell, there you can make something that's just not any, I mean that's okay. It's just to let yourself, I think that's the other thing with uh pivoting into something completely new is you have to give yourself grace to be bad at something. When you've come from a career that you've gotten competent or maybe even good at,
Mhm.
very hard to say, I have to remember how to be a newbie and be bad at something. And I have to laugh at myself and say, you know what? You're in your 50s and you've got to just let yourself be bad. That can be hard, but I think it's also, it can be freeing.
Mhm. So I want to look at a couple of the things that you're talking about here because I think they're really meaningful in any time of transition. And I think they're specifically great in times of career transition, but I think they're, as you alluded to a moment ago, they're useful in time of any transition. And I think they're one of the themes that we wanted to unpack here is a little bit of the letting go, but there's it's more than that. And I think you've just enumerated some of them, and I want to catch them because they're really, really important. I think you're giving us some sage counsel on what we can do, tactical steps. And I'm always about tactical. Okay, Chrissy, what can we do? What do we apply? What do we apply from this? So a couple of things that I heard you say. One of them is permission to sit with the unpleasant, permission to feel what we feel, permission to feel those feelings. It's okay to not like this. So I heard sit with the unpleasant. I heard convert the feelings to words. I heard journaling if you're a journaler. Maybe it's put it in your voice memos. Maybe it's talk it out. But whatever. Convert those feelings to words. Get them out somehow so that we're not eating them and like having them internalize us. There's something there. I just heard you say play, like play, have a little fun with it. There's also something that you just said that's really hard for a lot of us. I'm gonna put myself in that category to give ourselves permission to not be good at something. Many of us have spent careers at getting really good at something. So I do what I'm good at and I'm good at what I do. So permission to fail is really hard. And I think Kristy Evans just gave us, if you're listening here, Kristy Evans just gave us permission to be bad at stuff. So I heard
Not
that
that
one.
not that permission for me means absolutely anything, but I will tell you that I don't particularly like being bad at things. When you take personality tests and you get your personality type back, I usually get achiever type. And okay, so yeah, Seneca's raising
She
her
went,
hand. So I don't like it.
mhm.
But what I'm telling you is that it's another one of those things that I had to kind of get pushed into this arena that said, you don't get to choose. I don't think I would have chosen myself, but I didn't get to choose. I didn't get to choose. It was, here you go. This is your lot. And so here you go. Do something. And I mean, I chose. And being the type I am, and so you'll relate to this, of course, what do? I keep taking classes. I keep taking classes. I keep practicing. So I'm getting better all the time.
Mm.
But the reality is, if I had been somebody that had been going to art classes all through school and gone to college for art, and I had been doing art in all the ways for all these decades, would I be a different artist than I am after 7 years? Sure, I would,
Mm.
right?
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
so, so I am what I am at 56, and I'll just keep going, right? I am where I am, how I am.
And I'll keep going, you just said, which is such a demonstration of that growth mindset.
Yeah, and I mean, the play thing is really good, and I think having grandkids too and watching them play is
Mm.
such a great reminder of just it doesn't even enter their minds to not try something
Yeah.
or to worry that they can't do it.
I don't know when that gets pounded out of us, but for some of us, it got pounded out, and it got pounded out nearly completely for some. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think there are so many small ways we can re-engage with it, even if it's making a new recipe, or it's trying a new hairstyle. Sinica and I are both having great hair days today, if you could see us.
Trying a new hairstyle today.
There's lots of ways to be creative and just, release pressure on yourself and say, this stuff just a lot of it doesn't matter. Holy
Mm,
smokes, we make things matter that don't matter.
don't matter.
That's another, boy, did I get different perspective. Hoy.
Yep. Well, and I think that get different perspective, and you're alluding to the last point that I wanted us to come around to, which is the idea of learning. You have done so much learning in this journey. You've done learning obviously about art, which you've talked about extensively here already, but you've done a lot of self-discovery in this journey. And it seems to me, just based on watching you, and it feels very intentional, that you've really sat down and been intentional about discovering who you are and how you show up in the world, and what you think and what you don't think and how you want to show up. Talk to us a little bit about how learning, in addition to learning your craft, of course, how else has learning showed up for you?
Well, I think one thing that dawned on me, I'll back up one step. About myself, I have always been the kid who loved to learn.
Mm.
I was the kid who wanted to go to school, who wanted to learn what was being presented. I can name a lot of my students right now who would say, of course you were, because you were such a dork. Yes, I was. Yes, I was. And I've always liked to learn. I still like to learn. I still like to research an idea and find out more about it. I am that kind of personality. It dawned on me a while back that of all the things that I've been curious about and followed down a rabbit hole to try to learn, and when I was sitting in that chair and doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong with me, I cannot even tell you how many rabbit holes I went down.
Mm.
Because I wanted Dr. House and his team to show up and circle around me and figure out my case out.
Yeah.
And Dr. House did not show up. So I was on the computer looking for what in the heck could be wrong. Anyway, it dawned on me, for all the things that we study, why is it that we don't study ourselves a little bit?
Mm.
Why is it that we don't stop and think about what are the foundational pieces from our own lives that build to make us who we are today? And I think that for me anyway, if I'm acquainted with what some of those foundational pieces are, and if I kind of think about, are they core values that I want to maintain and I want to move forward, they offer fairly good guidance on next steps of what's going to be interesting and rewarding to me, not to anyone else or not to meet other people's expectations, but for me. And I remember, Seneca, I was talking to you one time, and you really provided me with a great reflective point that opened up my thinking. I came out of the classroom and kind of pivoted into art, and something in me really said, my teaching background is behind me, and moving forward, I'm going to try to do this other thing. And I've got to learn about it and I've got to figure it out, but I'm going to do this. I'm going to create. This is the thing for me. And when we were talking, you said to me something about my teaching career that I hadn't realized was missing for me in my art existence, which was what I loved about my teaching and coaching career, was that there was a service to others element. And so yes, I loved the curriculum and I loved instructional design, but I loved helping other people within that. And so here I am off painting, 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 and I'm loving it and I'm learning a lot, but maybe there just feels like there's something a little missing. And that's the piece that all of a sudden clicked, that I'm missing that service layer. And so I think whether we get those insights by reflection that we give ourselves or from listening to someone else, however we get them, then it's to hold on to them and not forget about them, because when they're good and important, we've got to utilize them. So thank you for that.
Oh, for sure. I mean, the things that light us up in our first career are likely the things that are going to light us up in the next. It's just it may not be the same activities that we do,
Right.
but the stuff that brings us joy is likely the same stuff. Yeah.
Yes, but I still struggle. I struggle with one element of this.
Yeah.
When I try to organize things, when I try to organize things and bring artists out to sell work or bring artists, to the gallery in the Sagewood, there's still this there's still this coach part of me that I want everybody to have this great moment, like everybody needs a ribbon, everybody needs a medal, everybody needs to sell all their stuff, and I know that's not reality, that's not how it works. But that's the part that I still haven't quite let go of. I got to work on that.
Well, because you're doing such a wonderful job of elevating everyone. You want everyone to feel valued in their own space. Yep. I love that.
Yes, well, I love the idea of Indianola having another way that art can show up,
Yeah.
for residents.
It's really beautiful. Yep. I love that you're doing it. It's so powerful, Kristy. So I'm
Well,
looking at the clock here and we are just about out of time, but I got to ask you my trademark question, because it wouldn't be the Even Better podcast if I did not ask this question. What is making you even better these days?
the first thing that came to my mind, I'm going to go with, and that is that I really like when there's an idea and you can start to bring people together surrounding an idea, and those people can start to work an idea. And I've had a few of those moments in the last year. And I'm working on one right now that's kind of happening. And so it's on my mind. I'm not going to
Huh?
talk about it, but I'm just going to say that it's good reinforcement to me that sometimes I think the simplest way to move an idea forward can feel like you just hold the ball yourself and carry it forward. But if I can share the carry and
Ooh.
actually start to bring people together to talk about how might that look, blah, 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 and I really like working on functional teams where people are brainstorming and coming up with ideas. Like, it's pretty exciting.
Mhm. Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
That is
So,
that is good stuff. So, Kristy, if someone wants to reach out to you and see your work or see what you're doing, what cool things you're doing here in Indianola and in and around the greater Des Moines area, they can of course reach out to us. We will connect them with you. What is the best way for them to find you directly?
well, I tried to keep it pretty simple. My website is kristyevansart.com, and my Instagram is Kristy Evans Art with a dot in between each. So Kristy.Evans.art. But here's the complicated thing. There's about 7 ways to spell Kristy. So you have to really want to find me. I'm a K and a Y. Kristy. And if you can do that, you can find me. On my website, there's Messenger. And then I will say also that I am helping at the gallery at the Sagewood, and I have spring artists that will go up in March with florals, and they are pretty fine artists, if I do say so myself. So if you are around the area and you have a chance to stop in the Sagewood and see them, we'll be having a reception, and it's a great space. You're welcome to sit with their art. It'll be beautiful. Yeah, those are probably the main ways.
I love it. Kristy, thank you. Thank you for your time today. We are so grateful.
Well, thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. And to those who have listened in, thank you so much for listening in to another edition of the Even Better podcast. This is our mission, part of our ongoing mission here at Your Clear Next Step, to help you have even better workdays so that together we can co-create better communities. And we thank you so much for listening, and we hope the rest of your day is even better. In Kristy's conversation, she was talking about the energy it takes to bring people together and move them forward. And she talked about how much fun it is to brainstorm around an idea, and sometimes the challenges associated with that, and sometimes the joy. And I just want to do a quick shout out, a quick plug for our newest product line around moving work, moving people, and moving mountains. And this new product that we've released here at Your Clear Next Step is doing just that. We've got a public access coming up in June. Wonderful, wonderful programs designed to help you move work forward. So come and join us. Come find out more about this program. We can also bring this to you. We are finding that this is such a great tool to help galvanize people, to help vet those ideas, get the right idea moving forward with the right people, energized in the right way to get all the way through the end with maximum participation, maximum engagement, minimal frustration, and get the right idea implemented all the way to the end. Moving work, moving people, moving mountains. We can't wait to see you.